The moment I decided my time was no longer for sale. You know, there is a very specific kind of peace that comes with a Saturday morning, a fresh cup of black coffee, and the smell of sawdust in a wood shop. For me, that is my sanctuary. I spent 5 years, and probably way too much of our savings, turning our two-car garage into a professional-grade woodworking studio. It is my escape from the 9-to-5 grind. It is the one place where I am the boss, the employee, and the sole judge of quality. But lately, that sanctuary has started feeling more like a forced labor camp. See, my wife Elena is the kind of person who gives with other people's hands. She has this incredibly generous heart, which is one of the reasons I fell for her. But she has this habit of volunteering my time, my tools, and my literal sweat without ever checking with me first. It started small. Hey babe, I told the neighbor you'd fix his broken chair. Or, my sister needs a custom spice rack. It shouldn't take you more than an hour, right? Every single time I'd sigh, put down my own projects, the ones I actually wanted to work on, and I'd do it. I wanted to be the good husband. I wanted her to be proud of me. But then, the favors got bigger. Suddenly, I wasn't just fixing a chair. I was refinishing an entire dining set for her boss because it would look so good on your portfolio, Elias. I don't have a portfolio, guys. I have a hobby. The breaking point happened last Tuesday. I had been planning this one weekend for months. I had ordered 3 slabs of live-edge black walnut, which, if you know anything about lumber, cost me a small fortune. I was going to finally build the coffee table I'd been dreaming about. I even took Friday off work to get a head start. I was in the garage just after 8 in the morning, running the planer. The sound is loud, so I didn't hear my phone buzzing. When I finally took a break to grab some water, I saw 3 missed calls from Elena and a text that made my blood run cold. It said, "Hey honey, huge surprise. My brother Mike is on his way over with his new fiancée. They just bought a total fixer-upper and I told them you'd help them spend the whole weekend milling all their baseboards and crown molding. They're bringing the raw oak in a U-Haul. See you at 10. Love you." I just stood there, staring at the screen. 10 in the morning. That was in less than 90 minutes. Milling raw oak for an entire house is not a favor. That is a week-long, back-breaking professional job. It's dusty, it's loud, and it would completely destroy my walnut slabs because I wouldn't have the space to move. Not to mention, Mike is the kind of guy who helps by standing around, drinking my beer, and telling me I'm doing it wrong. I texted back immediately. "Elena, no, I have my own project. I took the day off for this. You can't just volunteer me for a 40-hour job without asking." The reply came back almost instantly. "Oh, stop being dramatic, Elias. It's family. They can't afford to buy pre-made molding. Don't be selfish. They're already halfway there. Just clear the walnut out of the way. It's not a big deal." Not a big deal. I looked at my walnut. I looked at the table saw I'd spent 2 hours calibrating. Then I looked at the driveway. Something inside me just snapped. It wasn't an angry snap. It was a very quiet, very calm realization that if I stayed there, I was teaching her that my time had 0 value. I was teaching her that her generosity was more important than my peace. I didn't reply. I didn't yell. I walked into the house, grabbed my duffel bag, threw in 3 changes of clothes, my fishing vest, and my laptop. I walked back to the garage, covered my walnut slabs with a heavy tarp, locked the tool cabinets, and put the master lock on the main garage door. Then I backed my truck out, closed the gate, and just started driving. Around 10:15, the phone started blowing up. I had it on silent, but I could see the screen lighting up in the cup holder. "Elena, where are you? Mike is here with the U-Haul and the garage is locked. We can't find the key." 10 minutes later. Elena, "Elias, this isn't funny. They're waiting in the driveway. Why is the big lock on? Answer your phone." At 10:45, I pulled into a little diner about 60 miles north, right near the state park. I ordered a massive plate of bacon and eggs, took a slow sip of coffee, and finally decided to call her back. "Hey," I said, my voice completely level. "Elias? Where on earth are you? Mike and Sarah are sitting in the burning sun and we can't get into the garage. Mike is trying to figure out how to cut the lock. Tell Mike if he touches that lock with a bolt cutter, I will file a police report for destruction of property," I said calmly. "I'm not home, Elena, and I won't be home until Sunday night." The silence on the other end was heavy. I could hear the gears turning. "What do you mean? You have to be here. I promised them." "No," I corrected her. "You promised them. I didn't. I told you I had plans. You ignored me. So, since you're the one who made the commitment, I guess you're the one who's going to have to figure out how to mill 500 linear feet of oak." "You know I don't know how to use those machines," she screeched. "Exactly," I said. "Maybe you should have thought about that before you volunteered a craftsman you don't employ. I'm going fishing. I've checked into a cabin, and my phone is going off now. I'll see you Sunday for dinner. I hope Mike finds a good lumberyard that's open on Saturdays." I hung up. I spent the next 48 hours in total, glorious silence. I caught 3 trout, read a book I'd been meaning to finish for a year, and ate way too much jerky. I didn't check my texts, even though I knew there were probably 100 of them. I didn't check the Ring camera at the house. I just existed. When I drove back into our neighborhood on Sunday evening, the U-Haul was gone. I pulled into the driveway and noticed the garage was still locked, exactly how I'd left it. I walked into the kitchen, and Elena was sitting at the table. She looked exhausted. There were 3 empty pizza boxes on the counter and a stack of Lowe's receipts. She didn't scream. She didn't even look angry. She just looked defeated. Mike had to spend $4,000 on pre-finished molding, she said, her voice small. He's furious at you. He said you're not real family. I shrugged, grabbing a glass of water. If real family means being an unpaid servant who isn't allowed to have a hobby, then he's right. I'm not that. She looked up at me, her eyes a bit red. You really just left me there to deal with that. It was so embarrassing, Elias. I had to explain to them that my husband just vanished because he didn't want to help. No, I said, setting the glass down. You had to explain to them that you made a promise for a man who wasn't there to agree to it. You didn't invite them, Elena. You assigned me. There's a big difference. I sat down across from her. I love you, truly. But my garage is not a community resource. My time off is not a blank check for you to spend. If you ever, and I mean ever, volunteer my labor again without asking me first, I won't just go to a cabin. I'll stay away a lot longer next time. She started to argue, mentioned something about how marriage is about sacrifice, but I just held up my hand. Sacrifice is something you choose to give, I told her. What you were doing was theft. You were stealing my time to make yourself look like a hero to your family. That hit home. I saw the moment it clicked. She realized that her generosity was actually costing me, not her. It's been 3 weeks since the molding massacre, as Mike calls it. He still isn't talking to me, which, honestly, is kind of a bonus. Elena, though, she's been different. Yesterday, she asked me if I could help her hang a mirror in the hallway. She didn't say, I told my mom you'd do it. She said, babe, when you have a free 30 minutes this week, do you think you could help me with this? If not, I can try to find a handyman on TaskRabbit. I smiled, kissed her on the forehead, and told her I'd get it done right after work. Because when you ask, and you respect the answer, I'm the most helpful guy in the world. But if you try to drive my truck while I'm still in the driver's seat, well, you might just find yourself standing in an empty driveway with a U-Haul full of oak and no way to cut it. If you enjoyed this video, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Subscribe so you never miss stories like this. And let me know in the comments, what would you do in this situation? I read every single comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.